A lot of people are saying that Charlie Kirk is a martyr for his faith, and we want to question that today. We want to ask, is he really a martyr? If so, what makes him a martyr? And what even is a martyr with that? And if he was a martyr, should Christians fear for further persecution in America, and how do we handle that? This is the Things You Don't Hear in Church podcast. My name is Ethan.
My name is Derry, and we're all over social media, guys. If you want some extra content, we're on YouTube. We love to talk to you in the DMs as well. So if you'd like to reach out and ask a question, ask to have a guest on, we'd love to hear from you and answer your questions. We honestly call people on the phone all the time. This podcast was started because we want to help people answer the hard questions of the Christian faith. And so if you have questions or you're struggling or you have a friend that's struggling, we'd love to help in any way we can. So let us know. Reach out. With that, like Ethan said, today we are talking about if Charlie Kirk is a martyr. This has been something that's been all over social media lately. You've got a very viral Jackie Hill Perry video that she made where she thinks he's not a martyr on her podcast. And then you had probably every Christian influencer in the world making a video response to it saying that they disagree with her. And then you have some more prominent Christian figures like Mike Winger saying that he thinks he is a martyr. And other people like that. And so that's what we're going to get into today, is that difference. Now, before we start this episode, I know that this can be controversial and we're talking about somebody's death here. And so we want to approach it in a good way and not in like an inappropriate way, if that makes sense. So in my opinion, this isn't that big of a deal. Like whether Charlie should have the title of martyr or not have the title of martyr doesn't mean he was a good or a bad person, or he wasn't a Christian, or he was. Like Charlie Kirk was a Christian and he was a great man and he did a lot of great things and he was a great father. And so we're not disputing any of that. We're just simply talking about what the definition of a martyr is and this cultural controversy that's going on. Yeah. So with that, Ethan, do you want to watch a video first? You want to talk about it first?
Yeah, let's go ahead and grab this Jackie Hill Perry video. I got the one you sent me with the person responding, unless there's another one that you want to look at.
Okay. No, it's good.
Okay, great. I'll bring that on here. And then here we go.
Why don't you think he's a martyr? And it's like, because I heard what he said.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I don't appreciate his stances on abortion, on sexuality, on marriage.
Yes.
But it's also, I hear other things alongside that don't give martyr.
Agreeing with somebody across the board is not what makes someone a martyr. A martyr is somebody who dies because of their belief system. Charlie was murdered because his belief system and his ability to convince people of that belief system was so threatening to another person that they felt the need to murder him. What was the belief system that Charlie used to root his basis of morality in? Christianity. His reason for dying was because of Christ. That's why someone killed him. That's where he got his argument from. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber, a politician, an electrician, a teacher. If you are killed because of your morals, and those morals are rooted in Christ, you died a martyr.
All right, so there's that one. And then obviously that one Amy girl responding to that. And then let's go ahead
We've
and
talked about her on the show before as well.
We have?
Yeah.
I thought
I think we even invited her on the show and she was busy or something like that, but she almost came on. And shout out, we'd like to have her on again or back. Yeah. Invite her back on.
Yeah. Now let's watch this Mike Winger one too as well here. We'll get just both of them out of the way real quick. And that way we have a whole kind of multiple takes on why people think that he's a martyr, and then we can respond to both of those or all the points that they make. All right, here we go with Mike Winger.
I believe that Charlie Kirk was a martyr. Now, you might think, but he wasn't technically killed for the preaching of the gospel, Mike. It wasn't specifically probably because of the gospel. It was because of trans issues or feminism or marriage and family issues. That's Christian values getting him martyred. And I think we have an example in Scripture of somebody who, if you're going to say Kirk wasn't a martyr, then I think you'd have to say John the Baptist wasn't a martyr. John the Baptist was not killed for preaching the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. John the Baptist was killed because he held up moral values to the political power of Herod. And he said, your incestuous relationship with your brother's wife, this is wrong. And he spoke openly about it. and it got him killed. John is absolutely a martyr. And he's not the only martyr in Scripture who was killed for holding up moral values in a political fashion. Scripture says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. That's a verse I would use for Charlie. I think he was killed for his Christian beliefs. Not everything he said was necessarily biblical or always consistent with those very Christian values. There's going to be areas of disagreement, but what I've learned from Charlie is he can handle disagreement, and I can certainly handle disagreement. Can you?
No, I can't handle disagreement. Just
let's have the show so we can disagree.
That's why we actually did reach out to Mike as well, and his people were very kind to us and encouraged us in what we're doing, but they were like, he's very busy, he has no time to come on. And I was like, that's fair. That was a couple years ago. But yeah, great team over there.
To be fair, he also never goes on anyone else's show. Like, I never see him on any podcast or anything.
That's true. He always just like, I'm busy, which is true. He's like, I'm dropping 12-hour videos on one verse. So,
and he's one of those guys too that like, there's a lot of Christian influencers that once they get big, they stop being pastors, and they started out being pastors, and they stop because of their fame, or that like becomes more important to them. And maybe it's not because of fame, right? Like they feel more called to it than being a pastor anymore, and they have to choose between one or the other. For example, Gavin Ortland. And you could argue like, hey, they're doing great work, like both Mike and Gavin. But Mike, I think, is still a pastor, right? Whereas Gavin isn't anymore. Is Mike not a pastor anymore?
No, his pastors recognized how big his ministry was getting and was like, you have to go full time into this. Like his pastors really encouraged him, blessed him to go that way. And he's joined another church since then. And then he submitted to his pastor. So he says like, hey, anything you watch, like anything I put out, feel free to critique and call out if I'm being wrong, and, correct me. I want to submit to you're my pastor. So,
okay, cool.
Got his head screwed on straight. He's got some accountability there.
Nice.
Yeah. So clearly people are defending him being a martyr. And what we're hearing a lot on other sources as well, like CBN did a whole 20-minute segment on this that I was watching before we started. And a lot of it is that like he was a Christian and he was political because of his Christian values. He was killed because of his politics, but because his politics were backed by his Christianity, and he did evangelism sometimes, therefore he's a martyr. That's kind of how it seems like the train of thought goes. Even Amy, the lady we showed, she said someone who gets killed for their beliefs, it could be a martyr, as a lot of people say. Mike Winger said he had Christian values, and that's what got him killed. So it seems like they're kind of taking this and saying, yes, he was mostly a political figure, but he was a political figure and the type of politics he was because of his faith, therefore he's murdered. Do you think that's a fair reason to call him a martyr, or a fair analysis of what they're saying?
I think it's a fair analysis of what they're saying. And on the other side of that, Jackie Hill Perry was saying like, hey, there were some things that he said that I didn't agree with politically. And I think that was more of like his thing was politics. And so I don't think that he's a martyr. I think that was like the gist of what her and what's her husband's name? Preston Perry? Something like that. Yep. I think that was the gist of what they were saying. And so that's like both sides. Like one side's like, okay, I didn't really like his politics, and he was kind of killed for both those things. And the other side, and so he's not a martyr. And the other side is like, yeah, he was like a Christian, and that's why he did politics, and all of his politics was steeped in his Christianity. And so he was killed for his Christianity because you can't separate his politics from his Christianity, and that makes him a martyr. Is that correct, you think?
That's what it sounds like they're saying to me. I mean, we're just repeating their words. And so I'm like, yep, that's what you said. Now, if that makes sense, I'm not sure. Because I guess I've always had a very high view of martyrs, where it's like,
sure,
like you are being killed because you are a Christian for no other reason. It doesn't mean you have to be a prominent figure. You don't have to be like an evangelist. There's lots of martyrs in Nigeria right now. A lot of Muslims are killing Christians right now, just for the whole full sake, because they're Christians, right? They're dying. In North Korea, by being a Christian, you're killed. In China, you're being persecuted because you're a Christian. We know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but we've heard stories of pastors in Malaysia just going missing, right? Because they're Christians. That was the full force behind what is happening, is because they are Christians, and that's why they're martyrs. And I don't know. I just don't see how that applies to Charlie Kirk. Like, I obviously, it's a tragedy that he died. and it's terrible, and that never should have happened. But I don't know if I can say he's a martyr, because the reason he was killed was not purely only because he's a Christian.
Yeah. I think of it this way. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think of it this way. If you're a Christian and you get hit by a car and you die, are you a martyr?
Depends on why you got hit by the car.
So you just walked out into traffic and you got hit by a car.
You're dumb.
Are you a martyr?
No, right. Yeah. Exactly. You're not.
So it's an accident. Are you a martyr? Okay. I don't think so either, right? I don't think most people would consider that person a martyr. What makes you a martyr isn't what you believe or what you do necessarily. It's why someone kills you. And of course that interacts with what you believe, but it's more about why someone is killing you and if that thing is true or not, right? The thing for us is, or for me is, we don't know why Charlie was killed. Like, there haven't been statements made. There isn't a manifesto from the shooter. We have no idea. We're just assuming. So you can assume, like Mike Winger said, you can assume he was killed for trans issues or for sexuality issues or political issues, or like the other Instagram creator we were talking about. You can go from her perspective and say, no, like those are inseparable from his Christianity. Those are Christian things that he's killed for. You can say both those things, right? The thing is, you can't validate any of it because we have no idea why he was murdered, because we don't have a statement from the killer himself, right? We could, of course, go into hypotheticals and talk about the political versus politics thing, which we for sure will, because that's the main argument. But the first place I start with is the intent of the killer. And the intent of the killer isn't known. So we can't know if he's a martyr or not. Was Charlie a Christian? Yes, he was. Was he mostly known for his Christianity, or was he mostly known for his politics? I would say he was mostly known for his politics. Like, in my opinion, he was a Christian who was famous for being very outspoken politically. He had a political organization. He didn't have a Christian organization, right? Like, Turning Point USA is a political organization, and there's a lot of Christians that are there. And Charlie was a Christian, but his job was politics. Like, if you go and you listen to Charlie's videos, right? I'm going to be generous, and I'm going to say he brings up Christianity 25% of the time. The other 75%, which is probably more like 90%, he's talking about politics. And 100%, his politics are informed by his Christianity. But why is the reason he's popular? He's popular because he's a politician, right? And so if he wasn't a Christian and he still held all the same views, he'd probably still be pretty popular. Maybe not as popular because he had a Christian following as well. But if he held all the same conservative views and he started the same conservative organization and he was just more quiet about his Christianity, he would probably still be just as popular, because the thing that got him popular was being confrontational, going on debating people, being a fan of free speech, being outspoken, and being bold. Like, those are all great things. And that's why he was popular. For all of those reasons, young people loved him because he was speaking things that they wanted to hear. And so, in my opinion, he's famous for political reasons, and then he also happens to be a Christian. We still can't say if he's a martyr, in my opinion, in a Christian sense, because we don't know the motives of the person who killed him. But even if the motives, well, yeah, we can talk about speculation about what the motives are, but that's what I'll say for now. I don't think he was a martyr for that reason. We don't know the motives.
Yeah, what I found when I was looking into it is that there's nothing, like you said, obvious or statements made like this is why he was killed. There is speculation, a lot of it around gender, trans rights stuff. I think was it Thomas is his name, or whoever the killer was? Mm-hmm. Apparently they had a significant other that was going through a sex change at the time. That's what I read earlier, and they said they didn't know anything about like what was going to happen, but it could be the case. So people are speculating because of that, because Charlie's position on that, obviously informed by his faith, that's why he's killed. But it's not like you're a Christian and I hate you, so I'm going to kill you. It's, I think you're a dangerous political person, so I'm going to kill you. Right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that's how far it goes in my mind. Like, and people keep bringing up a lot of times John the Baptist. So they'll be like, John the Baptist spoke out against religious leaders. And it's like, yeah, sure, he did. And he was killed because he did that. But I think John the Baptist is different than Charlie Kirk, because it's not like Charlie Kirk
leader.
Was a political leader, It'd be more like, like a judge of. I'm trying to think of this in Bible terms. How we can put this in the biblical sense. Yeah, it's just like a political figure, someone who is intentionally speaking about politics. I don't know a lot about Constantine. You can share your thoughts there if you want.
He's the person who made Christianity the state religion of Rome. But
Okay.
he's the emperor of Rome, but he converted to Christianity. And so if he was killed, you'd be like, oh, he was killed for his faith. And like, well, we don't know the reason why he was killed. He was probably killed for being the Roman emperor.
Right, probably someone wanted that power. For. Right. Yeah, so I just don't think John the Baptist is the same either. And I'm wondering if that's a fair critique, so you can push back. So let me work this out and then poke holes in it so we can try to make a good case for it. John the Baptist was someone in ministry preaching the gospel, and the king asked his opinion on things, and then he rebuked the king, and the king killed him. But here's the thing, people are saying that, like, the king didn't even want to kill him. Like, that's the thing. Like, he was killed because the king was impressed by his, I think it gets really gross. Was it his stepdaughter or his niece was basically stripping at a party, and he was impressed. So the king was like,
I thought it was his wife's daughter. I can't remember.
It's someone really weird family relation, really gross. And he's like, ask anything I want, anything you want, up to half the kingdom.
Yeah, it was his stepdaughter. I'm sure it was his stepdaughter. Yeah.
And he's like, up to half my kingdom you can have. And then she goes and asks her mom, what should I have? I think it was his sister-in-law's daughter, because it was Herodias was his brother's wife, I think, and they were together.
Oh, okay.
And it was her daughter. And so Herodias said, because that's what John was calling him out, like, don't sleep with Herodias. Niece.
If he's married to,
it's his brother's daughter, niece.
Yeah. Well, it's his niece and his stepdaughter, because he marries the wife.
I thought they were just sleeping together. They could have been married.
Oh, okay. No, but I can't speak. John the Baptist disapproved of him marrying his brother's wife.
Yeah, it did say it's not right that you have your brother's wife. So yeah, that meant.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Right. So niece and stepdaughter.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Second cousin once removed. Really weird family relationship, and he's like, I'll give you whatever you want. She goes talk to her mom, and she says, bring me the head of John the Baptist. And it says that what's his name was sad that he had to do that because he liked John. He liked John the Baptist, but he said because he feared the people, because he made a promise in front of this whole party, he did it. So he didn't even want to. And so, yeah, he was killed because he called out sinful behavior. But I don't think that's a 1-to-1 ratio. And I would say, yeah, John the Baptist could be a martyr. I don't know if that makes Charlie Kirk a martyr, but maybe someone could say I'm being inconsistent. But I'd love to hear some pushback. What would be the best reason to say I am being inconsistent? And then how would we defend ourselves?
I don't see any. I can only see ways to make your case stronger, honestly.
I'll do it. Like, I'm down. Because some people might be pushing back like, you're being inconsistent because they're both killed for political reasons. So, and they're both Christians. So therefore, they're both martyrs.
Yeah. The difference is in who they were. Like, Charlie was a political figure. And there's no way to say John the Baptist was a political figure. He was like, the only reason Herod was hesitant to kill him was because of his reputation as a prophet among the people. Like, John the Baptist was a prophet. Like, his entire story is about him recognizing the Messiah over and over throughout his life, and like preaching the way before he even comes. And so, and baptizing people, like everything that makes him famous, everything that makes him possible is all a part of Christianity. Like, none of it is about him seeking political power or arguing with people about politics. So he was killed for giving advice. It's maybe advice that Charlie would also give, right? The difference is that he is a religious figure, whereas Charlie is not a religious figure. Charlie is a political figure who is Christian, right? Where you could say maybe John the Baptist is a religious figure that's being political in that moment, but he's not even being political. Like, he's giving him moral advice. Like, he's a religious figure giving somebody like moral religious advice about marriage and sin that he's committing, right?
Right.
And that makes sense. Like, he was killed for his religious faith. And the intent is there on the killer's side, and the belief is there on John the Baptist's side. We don't have the intent on the killer's side for Charlie, and we don't have the Charlie being a religious figure solely, right, on his side. So we can't say this is it. Like, if we don't have the means on the killer's side, and if Charlie isn't purely a religious figure, if the majority of Charlie's like who he is, if you ask people who he was, just general people on the street, they would say he's a political figure. That's what he's known for. So if we're just assuming, because all we can do is assume, we have to assume he was killed for the things he was most popular for, which were his political takes, which he had a lot of religious political takes for sure, but he was a political figure that had religious takes, not a religious figure that had political takes. And so I think it's kind of hard to make that comparison to John the Baptist. I don't see how Mike's getting there, in my opinion.
Yeah. What would you say if someone said being a martyr doesn't matter about your vocation because of the people in Nigeria are just villagers who are farmers and Christians and being killed? So it doesn't matter that John the Baptist was a religious figure and Charlie Kirk was a political figure because your vocation doesn't matter. It's about you being a Christian.
Yeah, again, you would need to know intent. Like, the people in Africa are being killed not because of their vocation, but because of their beliefs. And we know that. Like, we know they're being targeted because they're Christians. Like, that's stated. It's obvious. Like, that's the reason they're being hunted down and killed. That intent is made known by the people that are attacking them and killing them. We don't know what the intent is on the Charlie Kirk's killer's side, and so we don't know if he's a martyr or not. And when I'm saying martyr, let me be clear. To be a martyr, definitionally, is just being killed for any kind of belief system. Anybody can be a martyr if they were killed for a certain belief system, but we're talking about Christian martyrs, right? Just so we're really clear. Like, he's 100% a political martyr. I think that's safe to assume.
Right.
And you can be a political martyr. That's like a good thing to be most of the time, I think. Yeah. But you can't confirm that he's a religious martyr. That's my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. He is most definitely a political martyr. I had that same thought. I was going there exactly. Like, 100%, if Republicans want to be like, he's a religious martyr, have at it. Like, whatever. Just say religious. Why do you think so many people are trying to defend that he is a martyr? Because like you said in the beginning, it doesn't change the fact that this is bad and shouldn't have happened. And now this is causing a lot of problems in our culture and society as it is. Like, we already had a harsh divide politically, and it only furthers the gap rather than helping and extending hands across the aisle. And so it's already a terrible thing that happened that no one should be happy about. So why does it matter that he's a Christian martyr? What do you think these people, and I guess we want to be careful to assume motives because we don't want to, misrepresent people, but it's everywhere. Like, so we got to ask, like, why are people so concerned with making him a martyr?
Yeah. I don't think there's really anything wrong with thinking Charlie Kirk is a religious martyr. I just think it's like technically wrong. And that's what this is about, right? Like we said at the beginning, this is not that big of a deal. Like, this is just a technical issue and it's popular. And so we wanted to weigh in on it. It's totally fine to believe that he's a religious martyr. It's not like a sin or something like that. Because he was for sure a religious figure. Like, people cared greatly about him. Some people
just said he wasn't a religious figure.
Well, he is partially a religious figure as well. And so people cared about him. Some people cared about him a lot because he was a Christian and standing up for things that they believed in. And then a lot of people liked him because he was a conservative and he stood up for things they believed in. And a lot of those things had overlap and some of them didn't have overlap, right? And so a lot of people, especially in the Christian sphere, saw him as a political Christian voice that was like when I say idol, I mean like someone to look up to. Like, he was a good figure to aspire to watch his content, stuff like that, right? A good person to emulate, basically. They liked his values. And so when you think about that, like, people have a fond attachment of him and they think he was killed for his Christianity. And so there's like a dearness to their heart. There's a respect that being a martyr gives that person, and a weight to it. And it makes sense to want to imply those things to him. And maybe he is a martyr, right? Maybe Tyler comes out, who's the killer, Tyler Robinson, I believe. Maybe he comes out and he's like, yeah, I killed him because I think Tyler was a Mormon also. Like, he was raised Mormon. So maybe this is one of the first like Mormon retaliations on Christians killing them back in the day. Probably not. He's probably not a Mormon anymore, but he was raised Mormon. maybe he comes out and says, yeah, I killed him because he was a Christian for his Christian values and he's rebelling against that. There's a case to be made there for sure. Like if I'm steel manning the other side, there's a case to be made there. He was raised conservative Mormon. All of his family is still Mormon and still conservative, and they all voted for Trump from the information that I've seen. Now, Tyler, I think, had gone away from Mormonism, at least like attending as regularly as he grew older, and you can kind of see that with some of the choices that he was making in life. But I think most of his friends were still Mormon. Like if you read some of the Discord chats after he confessed to them, a lot of them, his friends are saying, pray for him, like God can forgive him, like pray for Charlie and pray for his family, like pray that God's will is done. Like a lot of his friends were talking about prayer and forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. And for sure that's natural among non-Christians too. Like when bad things happen, I don't know if you guys have heard the term every atheist is a Christian in a foxhole. But when like tragedy happens, you like a lot of people reach for religious hope. They reach for God. And so I think it's normal for maybe his friends who aren't as religious to still turn to prayer and use that as a kind of a hope and to turn to peace and forgiveness in those moments. A lot of people who aren't super religious turn to Christian values in moments of stress and tragedy. So I think that's normal, but it seems to me like a lot of his friends were still pretty religious. And so I think it would be safe to say if you're friends with people who are really religious, like they're the group chats you're most likely in a lot. And like from what we've seen, this were like the circles that he ran in, that he probably doesn't have like a lot of anger towards Christians, but hey, maybe he deconverted from Mormonism. He saw, and he was deconverting from conservatism too. We don't know that, but maybe he was. And he saw a lot of Charlie's views as like the antithesis of what he now believed, and he was becoming radicalized by online media or something like that. And he decided to kill him for those reasons. That's possible. I don't think that like him hanging out with Christians all the time really backs that up that much. Like if all of his friends are Christian adjacent, and when I'm saying Christian and he's Mormon, we don't have to debate about that right now. They're not Christian, but you know what I mean? Adjacent, right? If all of his friends are in the Christian circle, it would seem like if he really hated Christians, he wouldn't be friends with them anymore. He would be angry with them as well and disassociate from them. But I could be totally wrong. Maybe this happened in like a month and he was demon possessed or something like that and just shot him for that reason. We don't know, right? That's the problem. We just don't know. And so it's hard to say. But to me, it doesn't seem like the evidence from the killer side or from Charlie's side is really there.
Yeah. Yeah. No matter what we say, like how much Charlie Kirk was a political figure versus a religious figure or not, everything about was he a martyr comes back to the intent of the murderer, right? Mm-hmm. And so once again, since we don't have concrete answers for that, well, we can't make concrete statements. I wonder if people want him to be a martyr because maybe they are already concerned with the anti-Christian sentiment sometimes in America, or maybe the cultural divide and the anti-Christian sentiment that can come from the extreme
100%.
left. And so they want, and I'm sure the extreme right too has anti-Christian sentiment, right? They actually hate people, and the last month of our podcast have been, you have to love people. So, you know, I'm sure the extreme right would have problems with the Christian values too. And so maybe there's a fear then that like, oh no, if Charlie Kirk was killed for his politics that was informed by his religion, and I agree with him, am I going to be killed? And there might be some fear, right? Like, so if he's a martyr, maybe that gets people, or if they make him a martyr, he's looked at as a martyr, one that holds him up high as like an honor, right? In Christianity, to be a martyr is an honor. And so it's like, oh yeah, like this is an example to aspire towards in one capacity, but also it's like, oh shoot, is that what this means to be a Christian in America now? Like if I go to a college campus and I'm publicly preaching or talking to people, am I going to get attacked? Am I even going to get beat up? And some people might have that fear, and either, you know, some people might feel encouraged by that and be like, well, I'm going to do it more now. Like, you know, I would say like a lot of young men, I wouldn't be surprised, would have this attitude of like, well, shoot, we can get persecuted. Let's go out and preach the gospel. And some other people might be more worried. And so how do we respond to this that idea, if someone's worried that like, oh my gosh, am I going to be persecuted now if I stand up for and am bold for my beliefs? What should I do? How should I handle that? What does that mean for me as a Christian? And then they might think like, do I even want to be like vocal in my faith then? Like any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, that could for sure be a thought that people have because they like Charlie a lot and they're afraid that this might start to happen to them. So the perspective they're coming from is like, wow, I knew Charlie because I was a Christian and I found his content, maybe his more like religious content. And he also just happened to be a political commentator and he was killed seemingly for his religious content that he had and for religious beliefs. And now we're seeing people getting killed for their religious beliefs, and you're seeing people around the world being persecuted for their religious beliefs and killed, obviously at a far higher rate overseas. But some Christians are very afraid of that seeping into our culture. And so, I mean, yeah, I think that's a normal thing for people to kind of latch onto. I don't think that that's really a danger right now in any statistical means, but yeah, it's something that you can look out for 100%. I think it would be a little irrational to think that people are going to start hunting you down for your religion at this point, but we could get there for sure.
Yeah. And if you are thinking that, like Derry said, it realistically it could be far off in America, but it's not like crazy. Like you could face some type of persecution, right? Like with the company I work for, I won't say the name so I can't get in trouble. But I had to sign compliance things to work there that said if I say something that could offend someone publicly or someone that could be offended because of what I say socially, like on any social media forum, anyone at work could be offended. I could get in trouble for like with HR for saying stuff that could be offensive. And I have 6 years of podcasts that could be offensive, And so if I got fired for that, it could be like, okay, is that persecution? Because I said these things because I'm a Christian.
A form of it, probably.
Yeah, and I would say the reason it's like, yeah, that's persecution is because, well, they're firing me because I'm talking about things that are true and Christian and people don't like it and it's offensive and the gospel's offensive. Now, maybe some people would be like, exactly, so he's a martyr. And I would say again, like, well, we don't know the intent of the murderer. Right, so people might try to pigeonhole, and then obviously maybe like if you're really that like exactly he's a martyr, I would wonder why you're so intent on that, but be a different conversation. But like, what do we do in the face of persecution? Well, we see what Jesus says, right? Jesus tells us that anyone who desires to live righteous will have hardship and persecution, that they will hate us because they hated him, that the Holy Spirit's with us and we're not to fear because he's overcome the world. It says, in this world you'll have tribulation, but don't fear. I have overcome the world. And he's with us, right? And so whatever persecution they put Christians under when it becomes serious like that, hey, like Jesus handled that and he's with us and the church grows through persecution. It might be something that we might have to get ready for. And if you're scared of persecution, I don't think that's like a sin to be scared of being persecuted. No one wants to. I'm sure every Christian who's been persecuted in the past is scared. That's why the Christians fled in Jerusalem in Acts, right? Persecution came and they ran for their lives because they were scared. It's like,
which is fine.
That's a human nature thing that says danger, run. That's not a sin. Now, if because of that you won't share your faith, that's probably the sin.
Sure. Or deny Christ or something like that.
Right. Like that's what's wrong. It's the decision you make in face of what am I going to do with this? Am I not going to share my faith with the people I work with at Starbucks because I don't want them to like get mad at me and I want to get fired or like get beat up? Then it's like, okay, well then ask God what's going on. Who are you believing? What lies are you believing that you can overcome? Because we haven't been given a spirit of fear, right? And the Bible says that God will protect us. And if persecution comes, then we'll be blessed, right? Blessed are you when people persecute you and revile you and say all kinds of things against you for my name's sake, is what Jesus says. But, also a lot of those environments are really ripe for evangelism. I was just talking to someone who said that they work at a coffee shop and a lot of their coworkers are either like very far left or very Muslim, and they're getting amazing conversations with people. Like they're having like great times. Like people are asking them like, hey, what is this? Hey, can you talk to me about it? And then they're like, just like the fruit is there. Like people want to know. So like, don't be scared to share because people want to know. So yeah, I guess I would just say that if people are scared that persecution might be increasing, it's like, it might be, but we have so much reason and to not give into that and to keep pressing forward and to keep showing love, right? Then a part of that is that the Bible says, let your good works shine before men that they may see or let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So part of being a Christian, along with evangelism, is just being a really good person. So much so that people won't want to persecute you. They're like, oh, but this guy's awesome. I really like him. I don't want to hurt him. Could be a way you could look at it. Historically, it doesn't happen.
Christ.
But
Sure. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
On that line, well, I guess first I'll respond to what you're saying, in that I think faith isn't as much a feeling as it is action, right? And so, yeah, you can be afraid as long as that doesn't come out in your actions, because faith is about actions, in my opinion. And so when it comes to you, I don't know, denying Christ or something, some kind of action that is fueled by fear, then yeah, for sure, you're doing something the Bible says you shouldn't do. You shouldn't fear. But I think being afraid of things that are like death is normal in an extent, but you don't let it affect your faith, if that makes sense. But obviously that's a nuanced conversation, so we can talk about it more on maybe a different episode. But I think you're bringing up a really good point in that Tertullian says that the blood of martyrs is the seed of the church. And this might be the best argument for why Charlie Kirk is a martyr, because it seems like, and this is just from friends that I have, most of my closest friends in my area are mostly pastors, and mostly at different churches too, including some of my family members. And so I have the perspective from like 4 or 5 different churches in my area, and every single one of them said the Sunday after Charlie Kirk was murdered, which was like 2 or 3 days after, that church attendance was through the roof that day. And hey, that might be one of the best arguments for him being a martyr, because if he was killed and it was for his faith and people saw that, and that's going to be the seed of the church or spark revival or spark people becoming more Christian, you would see it in people going to church, and a lot more people went to church after that weekend. Now, I don't know if that led to like a significant actual rise in church attendance for the long term, or like a rise in people becoming Christian, but 100% it resulted in more people attending church one time. But I'm sure it made people think as well. And so I think that's the best argument. And we can have a conversation on like, did his death start a revival? I've seen different things here or there, and obviously there's different theologies around what revival is and stuff like that. But 100%, there was a lot of discourse online, and I'm sure in friend groups and in family circles, about Christianity after his death, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I think, like we said in the beginning, it's not like it is a technical thing, but it's not like a deep, super spiritual thing, right? And so yeah, like that's interesting. You know, like this caused a lot of people to rethink Christianity, to pay more attention to it. Maybe to have some introspection on what it means for them to follow Christ. But it's kind of like, he's not technically a martyr. Just like someone who's returning home from YWAM to do missions in their hometown, is like, they call themselves missionaries. Like, how many times, Derry, have you heard people say like, I'm going to go be a missionary at home, or I'm going to do missions and live a missional lifestyle at home? It's like, you're not a missionary. Like, you're just a Christian, but if that's what you need to go live an intentional evangelistic lifestyle, whatever. You're not technically a missionary. So it's like, look, Charlie Kirk, not technically a martyr, but if that's what people want to say in order to maybe bring attention to Christianity and being bold for your faith and what it looks like to be bold for your faith and the cost of following Jesus potentially, then it's like, okay, well, maybe you can use it, but it's just, I wish we'd have other words for it.
Yeah. But again, like, it's not bad. Like, it's not bad to not be a martyr. Look at the fruit of what's happening because of his death. Like, a lot of people are seeing and really solidifying their, like, some good political beliefs. Of course, some that I disagree with as well. But a lot of people are talking about Christianity. Probably a lot of people got saved when they went to church. So, like, it's changing lives. Like, you could argue that his death, and this is going to be real controversial, but like, you could argue his death was in some way positive for Christianity. If, let's say, 100 people got saved because of it, like, that's 100 souls that are now going to spend eternity with God and start relationships with him, and become Christ followers.
And do more.
Yeah, because of it, you have no idea how they're going to affect other lives. Like, that could be thousands or hundreds of thousands of people affected for Christianity, and because of something that happened to him. And so it can be really good. Like it could be a great thing for the kingdom. Obviously, God takes tragic situations and uses them for his glory and for his good. And so 100% that could be what happened. I'm not saying that it was a good thing that Charlie Kirk died, but good things can come from it, right? Yeah. I forgot where I was going there, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, good stuff's coming from it, and people are becoming Christians. It is hopefully something that like kind of gives everyone pause as far as the controversy, the political controversy. I doubt it though, because Trump is saying I hate people. It's like you're not really helping anyone. But yeah, was he a martyr? Technically, no. Doesn't matter if you want to call him that. Technically, no. It's like we're not going to lose sleep. I'm not going to be mad at anyone. I don't care if people do call him a martyr. I just think in the general sense of the word, I don't like to assign those words quickly, because they really do mean something, and there's a real honor for being a martyr in Christianity. And in my mind, it's like, look, if you weren't that, you just weren't that. It's not like a big deal. No, if you weren't a missionary, it's fine. Like it's honorable to be a strong evangelistic Christian in your hometown. You're just not a missionary. Like there's no shame in that. But
martyrs are people who.
Go ahead.
I just watched the movie Silence with Andrew Garfield, and I wasn't sure I was a Christian 45 minutes into it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I would do if I was Andrew Garfield in these situations.
Don't spoil it, because I really want to watch it.
Okay, yeah. The movie's about him. Yeah. The movie is about him being a missionary, one of the first missionaries in Japan, and being persecuted and stuff like that. And man, like that is a missionary. Like he meets martyrs in it. And it's like, those people are martyrs. Like Charlie was a political figure, probably not necessarily a martyr. And it's not to say that you have to go through that much suffering. It's just like when you watch something like that, you're like, wow, there's a high bar. There's a high respect for what it means to be a martyr, and we want to give respect to those things, which is why me and Ethan are also very passionate about what missionaries are like. Missionaries sacrifice way more than normal Christians do in America. Like they give up their entire lives to go to a place they probably don't want to go and eat food they probably don't want to eat for the rest of their lives, and sacrifice just the comfort and the lavishness and the livelihood that they can have in America, the friends that they can have, to literally become a different person. Like they shed their Americanness and they go to another place to become a different person for the sake of the gospel. And that is an honorable thing. And that is not the same as a kid working in Starbucks, sharing his faith with his coworkers. That person's doing a great job. They're not a missionary. And so that's why I think why it's also important to distinct between martyrs, because it's like, if he was killed for his faith, 100%, then he's a martyr. But we don't know that yet. And there's a pretty high bar for being a martyr. So I think we should be careful about how we use the word.
Right. And if Tyler comes out and was like, I did it because he's a Christian and I hate him, I'm like, all right, well, I'll take down this podcast and we'll make one that says he was. Or we'll just edit it in the very beginning and say, hey, guys, no need to watch it. Tyler confessed that the reasons, so he is a martyr.
Right.
Something like that. We'll do something, but that hasn't happened yet. So I just think we should be slow to assign those types of things. You can still be angry. You can still be confused. You can still mourn. And, that's fine. But anyways, guys.
Important than all of that stuff. Sorry, one more thing. What's more important than all of that stuff is the fruit of what's coming from it. Like, even from, and this is real controversial as well, Charlie's Memorial, which was a political skit, basically. But half of it was like, there's worship music, the gospel was preached, like Erica Kirk's display of forgiveness, like all of those things were good and exposed a lot of people to the gospel. Like a lot of people watched that who weren't Christians and just liked Charlie because of his political beliefs. And they're being exposed to a God that loves them and wants to, who gave his life for them and wants to know them, wants them to know him as well. And people are going to decide to follow Christ because of that. And whether it's for good or bad intentions, like they're going to get exposed and maybe become real followers of Christ. And that's going to be great. And so there are things to talk about in this that are more important than him being a martyr. And I get people being mad about it and it being controversial and people going back and forth. But I don't want to get too sidetracked on what is really happening. Like, it's not that important if he was a martyr or not, because the facts are still the facts. and like people are still getting saved, and political discourse is still going on, and free speech and all that kind of stuff. And so we can celebrate those things, and we can mourn the death of Charlie Kirk at the same time, and not get too caught up on if he was a martyr or not.
Right. And now that we're towards the end of the episode, we can give this disclaimer that, you know, it could have been a CIA inside job. I haven't gone down that route too much. I haven't gone down that road too much. But, you know, so many things are CIA takeouts. So, you know, it's never out of the realm of possibility. Just got to
be a martyr if he was killed by the CIA?
No.
No.
I don't know. It depends. It was the CIA killing him because he was a Christian or because he wasn't doing what they were wanting him to do? Probably because he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. But they would be like, what does he want him to do? All that.
Sure.
You get down all the questions, but we just got to say that because I know a number of people watching might be like, these guys don't even know the truth. We're hip. We're hip to the possibilities. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure. True.
All right. Well, guys, we'll talk to you next week. We'll see you in the next episode. Probably do something about Halloween soon.
Ooh.
Apparently, an ex-Satanist came out and talked about why Christians shouldn't do that. This seems to happen every year. An ex-Satanist says this. But there's an unknown history about Halloween, relatively unknown about the Christian origins of it. So we'd like to look into that and see what the truth is. So come back next week for another episode, maybe on Halloween. Maybe that one will come out in a few other weeks. But either way, we'll see you next week. And my alarm just went off to read the Bible. So we're going to let you go.
You should too.
Yeah.
Stop listening. Go read the Bible.
Peace.
Peace.